think this is working. Why are you saying you're in landscape view? Ow. Ran over my toe with my computer chair. Do not recommend. Hey Word Nerds, I am presenting at a school for an author visit tomorrow? No, the next day. I should probably figure out when it is. I am presenting at a school, a little bit about the writing process. So in preparation for that, I started to kind of get together some of the supplies and stuff that I use during my drafting process, and I figured I would share that with you today. So the very first thing I do is obviously start out with a shiny new idea, and usually for some reason that's in the middle of the other manuscript I'm writing. So I'll get this shiny new idea, and usually I will have to write it down in a notebook and put it aside and ignore it. And this also works in two ways, because usually my ideas are just a snippet of something. They're like a throwaway line in a movie, or an imagery from a song, or something I've seen on a TV show that inspires me, and it's usually just a very minuscule amount, like a sliver of an idea, and I really can't do much with it until more develops in my mind. So like I said, I'll write it down, I'll put it away, and then if the idea is going to be a good one, it kind of continues snowballing in my mind, and then I know when I become totally obsessed with it that that's the one I'm going to write next. For the Irish Witches one, I read as much Celtic mythology as I could, and usually that also snowballs into more ideas and fleshes out the manuscript. When I first begin plotting, I always use a simple composition notebook. This is my Hogwarts one in Slytherin colors, of course. They're very random at first. They'll just be like lines jotted down. There's no structured plot at this point, which is why I just use a normal little notebook like this one. Finally, when I get to the next stage where I'm ready to actually write out an entire structured plot line with a beginning, middle, and an end, that's when I pull out the big guns. I use this really nice big notebook. It has it opens this way so I can fold it over. I know I've talked a little bit about these on the channel before. I always use these to do plotting, and I also sort of plot out my edits in them, if that makes any sense. I make lists of the big picture items that I need to edit, which I'll get into later, but I really like this one, mainly because of how big it is. I can divide it into columns and things like that, but also just because of the way it flips over, and I can just hold this easily on my lap. I don't know why. It's not like a normal flappy notebook is that inconvenient, but I really like the setup of this one. One of the things about being a writer, I think, is just being really weirdly particular about taking notes and how and what we take them with. Like my obsession with mechanical pencils and like this one particular notebook. I know other authors are obsessed with like the yellow lined paper and like pens, and lots of authors hate mechanical pencils, and I love them, so that's where we differ. After I am done plotting out in further detail in my big notebook, I then sit down at my laptop, and it's always my laptop. I do have a laptop and I have a stationary computer, but I always use my laptop for drafting because I draft everywhere. I do not stay in my house. When I'm drafting, I get really easily distracted. Actually, that's just all the time. I all the time can get really easily distracted. Going different places should distract me, but for some reason I think it's harder to get the internet sometimes. If I don't have any Wi-Fi, that's really good. I usually get a lot done. Once I'm finished my rough draft, I usually go back and polish it at least once just to make sure there are no ridiculously glaring plot errors, and this is while it's still on the laptop. And then finally, when I go through the printed manuscript, I write in the big notebook again, and I use colored pencils, and each one has a different plot, setting, character, and so forth and so on. Each has a different color. And so everything that I want to edit goes on here, and I don't actually touch anything on the manuscript. That way I have a fresh, clean manuscript to go back and write more things in the columns if I want to. So once I finish doing that, then I actually send it off to beta readers. And this is the part where I kind of just have to sit back and try to let it go. And usually it helps me to write something different, or that's by that time I'm already have started developing another new shiny idea and get the fun part of plotting or being inspired for that. And then finally, I use 2 or 3 beta readers usually, and when their edits come back, I sit down, I go through the whole thing again, again writing in my big notebook instead of the manuscript. And I do lists. I'm obsessed with lists. So I do a list of, each character has a different list of the qualities I want to change in them, things I want to add to flesh them out, that sort of thing. And I go through the whole manuscript and do it all at once. And then it's finally ready to send to my agent. And she reads it and lets me know all the things that stink about it, and it starts all over again, usually with a brief pause to feel sorry for myself and eat a lot of chocolate in between. What about you guys? What is your process like? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, the WordNerds have our live chat, and we would love to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you nerds next week.